Well, I was supposed to review the new Addams Family movie tonight, but apparently they aren't doing a Thursday night release for that movie, so naturally I did what any sane person would do and stayed up until 3 a.m. to watch the premiere of the new Breaking Bad movie, El Camino. I'm not going to be spoiling any of the movie in this review, but I am going to be referring to a couple of details from the final episode of Breaking Bad, so be warned about that, I guess, if you haven't seen it. I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad. I think it's one of the best, most consistently well-written television shows ever made from start to finish, and its prequel series, Better Call Saul, is also excellent. I think that one's also probably the best prequel to anything that I've ever seen in any medium.
It's treason, then.
Needless to say, I was really looking forward to El Camino, which stars Aaron Paul, who of course played Jesse Pinkman on Breaking Bad, as we explore what happens to him after the finale of Breaking Bad. And normally I would be against this type of movie sequel to a TV show. Breaking Bad was such a great show, and it had such a great ending, which is honestly pretty rare for television. I rewatched the final episode of Breaking Bad tonight before the premiere of this film in preparation for it, and if there was one complaint that I've always kind of had about that series finale, it's the way that they leave off Jesse's character. It never really felt complete to me, where he's like driving away and he's overcome with emotion, and don't get me wrong, that's a great little sequence and it's well acted and everything, and I also don't think there would have really been any other way to do that without cheapening Walt's death. Like, if there had been a bunch of scenes with Jesse right after this, I think it would have felt really tacked on to that episode. So I think that this movie, to give Jesse's character a little bit more closure, was a very good move from series creator Vince Gilligan, who does return for El Camino, both as writer and director.
Why was it important for you to revisit Jesse's story now? Money, I gotta say.
And more than that, I think it's something that the character deserved. I mean, he was the second most important character through the entire show. One thing I also really appreciated is that this isn't looking to supplant the end of the TV series in any way. Instead, it feels more like an epilogue or a side story. This is very much centered on Jesse. I don't think there's a single sequence throughout the entire film that he isn't in, and Aaron Paul is just fantastic in this. He was fantastic on Breaking Bad, and even though it's been a few years, he jumps back into the character without skipping a beat. This movie picks up right where we left off Jesse at the end of the series. Quite literally, actually, in the car as he's driving away. And from that point on, we follow him as we learn what happens next, as well as a few occasions where we flash back to some other events that would have taken place during the TV show, as we draw his character arc to a satisfying conclusion. The story they're telling here with this film feels completely natural, and I think that, like Better Call Saul, this is another story in this universe that you might not even necessarily realize needed to be told until you've seen it. Jumping back into the world of Breaking Bad with El Camino feels like slipping back into a jacket that you haven't worn in a while. It feels completely natural and very satisfying. This does look and feel a lot like a very long episode of Breaking Bad, which is fine because Breaking Bad is honestly more cinematic than most movies these days. It's also a very, very good episode. All the hallmarks of the series return here. There's a lot of very tense, slow-burning scenes, as well as some great small moments of levity sprinkled in throughout. There's a lot of great moments with Skinny Pete and Badger. The cinematography is great, as always. The editing in this movie is spectacular. There are times when we'll cut back to events that happened in the past, and it's done in very creative ways that caught me off guard. Besides Jesse, there are a few other returning characters from Breaking Bad, but Vince Gilligan has restrained himself when choosing who to bring back, and I appreciate that. There are no gratuitous cameos for characters who don't make any sense to be part of this story, which I'll admit I was slightly afraid of, but no, we don't ever drop in on Skyler or Marie or Flynn or anyone else like that who doesn't belong in Jesse's story.
You ready? Yeah.
If I had to give some negatives, I don't know, there aren't any big ones. There are some bad guy characters included here that were never on the series, but at one point we flash back to a point in time during the series where it's established that they were there, we just never saw them because they weren't important at the time. And it's fine though, it's still believable, and they totally work as part of this film. A couple of the actors who reprised their roles from the show have also noticeably aged, but Aaron Paul isn't really one of them, so it's not all that distracting, except in the case of one actor, and trust me, you'll know what I'm I'm talking about when you see them. That's nobody's fault though, and people look older as they get older, and that's just a part of life. It didn't impact my enjoyment of the film at all. Overall, I'd say this was a pretty great addition to Vince Gilligan's Breaking Bad saga. Definitely check it out if you enjoyed the series. Also, one thing I'll say is that if you haven't seen the teaser trailer for this movie with Skinny Pete that came out on YouTube a few weeks ago, you might as well go give that a watch as well, because it's only like 45 seconds long, and that scene isn't actually in the film, so yeah, why not? We're gonna get a Skinny Pete and Badger movie next? I'd watch it. And hey, if you made it this far in the video, help me out by hitting that like button, subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell to stay up to date on all of my future videos. Leave a comment down below with any of your thoughts on El Camino, or Breaking Bad, or Better Call Saul, or anything else, and check out some of the other great stuff I've got up here on my channel. As always, thanks so much to all of you guys for watching, and take care. It's 6:30 in the morning. F*** me.